Hey everybody, Reed Price here. I play the role of Rob Shandon on Sullivan's Crossing, and you're listening to Corman Productions' Deep Dive TV Podcast with Dave and Stacie.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from the Corman Productions Deep Dive TV Podcast. My co-host Stacie here to talk about Sullivan's Crossing Season 3, Episode 1, titled New Beginnings. The episode description reads as follows, and this is going to be a long one because it comes from the official description, though I did edit it a little bit. Maggie has officially packed up her life in Boston and moved to Nova Scotia to help run the outpost and make Sullivan's Crossing her home. Though she wants to finally take her relationship with Cal to the next level, she finds herself struggling to connect with him. Edna and Frank make some much-needed changes at the store, rubbing certain people the wrong way, and best-selling author Helen, guest star Kate Vernon, comes to the crossing to finish her new book. Sydney and Rafe get caught in a compromising position by Rafe's new boss, Cooper, guest star Steve Lund, and Rob receives distressing news from the insurance company. So I don't find that episode description to be totally accurate, but nevertheless...
They never quite are.
Yeah. The episode was written by Roma Roth. The episode was directed by Jonathan Wright. First work in the series. He'll direct the next episode. He's currently listed as a producer on the first 4 episodes. I'm assuming he will continue to be a producer for the rest of the season, and that's just what he's credited for right now. He has 25 directorial stints in total, 11 producer credits, and 40 assistant directorial credits. Lots of Christmas movies.
Okay.
Which is pretty standard for the Nova Scotia set of actors.
Yeah.
Before going any further, I'll tell you a couple things. One, this is not a spoiler podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give us a listen. Secondly, if you're listening to one of the platforms of this podcast is now available on, please follow. And feel free to check out our YouTube channel, Corman Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on our YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, and subscribe to our channel. All right, shout-outs this week. I have one.
Okay, what you got?
Skylar Anderson. Skylar Anderson, who regularly commented on our Sullivan's Crossing content, commented on the last video that we did, which was on the season finale of season 2.
Okay.
The rewatch with us video. And he basically said, good to see you guys. And of course, he's going to keep his comments beyond this episode to himself.
Yes.
Even though he's probably going to have seen
So
more episodes than
Skylar
us.
has been around with us, I think, since the beginning of Sullivan's Crossing.
Pretty much.
And has always done a great job of not spoiling our audience. Because Skylar lives in Canada.
Yes.
And so this is a great time to bring this up to anybody listening. Please be like Skylar.
Mm-hmm.
If you are watching from anywhere outside of the U.S. that has already seen more episodes than we have here, please refrain from talking about future episodes. In this case, we're talking about the Season 3 premiere, which finally just aired here in the U.S. We had a delay.
Of a couple episodes, or a couple weeks, rather.
Yeah, we were supposed to have just a 10-day
Right.
delay from Canada. Now it's 17 days because the CW had a little schedule mix-up or change that happened recently. So Canada's actually seen 3 episodes now.
Yes.
By the time that this drops. So yeah, if you're watching from Canada or Australia or anywhere in the world that's already seen 2 or 3 episodes, please just keep your comments to the episode we're talking about. Not to spoiler it for the U.S. audience. We are in the U.S. and we are specifically talking about the cuts of the show that are airing on the CW here in the U.S.
Which, of course, might be different from the cuts that appeared
might be
on.
slightly different. I've got things to say about that as we go today.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
But yeah, just please be mindful of the fact that our main audience hasn't watched as many episodes as you possibly have.
Right. So I gotta say, I'm excited to be back talking about Sullivan's Crossing, and at the same time that it's at, well, roughly the same time as it's airing in Canada,
Right.
because that's not
Pretty
been the
close.
case for us before.
Yeah, I mean, we're a couple episodes off, which kind of
Yeah.
stinks,
Right.
but
Yes.
we used to be 5 months off. The
Right.
whole season had aired, and people had forgotten about it, and then we would get it, and we'd get to talk about it in the U.S.
And we still got a decent amount of people watching those videos, even with the the delay. But yeah, so it's good, and I expect to hopefully do a little bit better than that. Given the fact that we're roughly on the same time scale.
Right.
Hopefully. We'll see. So anyway, your thoughts on the season premiere.
All right, so it was great to be back at the Crossing.
Absolutely.
And, it's great to finally be recording this.
Yes.
I feel a little bit like this is a cursed episode for us.
Yeah, we had a lot of trouble with this one.
So I need you to pay special attention to the recording today and make sure this is actually being captured and your phone doesn't, explode or anything while we're talking.
So far, so good. The phone is not, in fact, exploded.
Because, I feel like we've been working on this one forever.
Yeah.
We got the screener from CW. We watched it 3 weeks before we're talking, which is 5 weeks before this is actually going to be heard by anybody.
Right.
And then stuff just kept happening.
Right.
We had a lot of technical difficulties
with the CW.
With the screener from the CW. We were going to record last week, and then I got deathly ill, and we had to postpone. And then they changed the date of the airing, so the whole thing got moved a week.
Right, and then I had some technical difficulties.
Then there was more technical difficulties, and then another set of technical difficulties.
Right.
It feels like we've been on this episode forever. Yes. And we're finally sitting down to talk about it today.
Right, yep.
And hopefully things go smooth from here on out.
I hope so.
But yeah, it just feels like something about this episode is challenging us.
Right. So currently we do have screener access to this series. We're not sure if that's going to continue to be the case, whether they're going to keep dropping screeners or not. If it does, then we will continue dropping these videos pretty close to right after it airs. If it doesn't and we don't continue to get screeners, we'll see. We'll go from there. But
yeah. And that's not any reflection on our relationship with CW.
No.
Just the fact that it is a new relationship, so we're not entirely sure how they do things.
Right, yes.
I've been trying to watch the other shows that the CW has given us access to in correlation to this, to see if they continue to drop every week, and I haven't really been able to follow that thread.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if they drop the entire season in their screener program or not. Or if it's just like...
First couple episodes.
Hey, here's, the start of the season for press, because usually press is more likely to talk about the beginning of a season than to necessarily continue every week. So it'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful maybe if we just keep asking, they'll just keep doing them, even if nobody else is watching them but us. You never know.
Right.
Because we're here. We're invested, and we're going to talk about this show. As we always have.
Yep.
And, I think we should get to it.
All right. Did you even state how you feel about the season premiere yet?
I don't know, did I?
I don't think you did.
Okay, well...
You're excited to be back.
I'm excited to be back. Okay, I'm excited to be back at the Crossing. I'm really confused about one thing, and that is our timeline. And I've brought this up while we were reviewing the episodes we reviewed prior to this. I don't know where we are, and I'm finding that distracting.
Yes.
So that's something I want to continue to look at and talk about as we hit hints of when the heck are we in the timeline. That's throwing me a little bit because I feel like it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
Aside from all that, though, if you put on some suspension of disbelief, I feel like it was a good episode. Got kind of the warm fuzzies, seeing all our characters back together.
Absolutely.
Seeing Cal and Maggie finally together. They got lots of little kissy scenes in this episode, which, I feel like it's good fan service. It's been 3 seasons of, will they or won't they? They finally got together in 210. So I feel like them just having, these sweet little moments is a nice place to sit. With that being said, I hope that we don't spend the entire season just watching them make out. Because that's going to get old really fast.
Yes.
It was fine in this episode. They have, 4 or 5 of those scenes in this episode.
Yeah.
Which is all fine and dandy, but I don't want that to just become our focus, is every time they're on screen, they just make out.
Right, yeah.
I also don't want them to keep breaking up and getting back together and doing all that drama, either.
Right.
I'd like to see us have some actual progressing storylines.
So, it's kind of funny, and I overall really enjoyed this episode, except for one major problem, in the fact, how did we end our last season? We ended it with a cliffhanger with the possibility of Sully being dead.
Right.
Now, I never believed for a second that he was actually going to be dead.
Right.
I said in the 210 podcast, he's not dead. There's no way they just killed him. I did not expect, a very good, resolution to that particular plot line. I thought it was going to be lame. I thought it'd be something like, oh, we got out the back door. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. What I got was nothing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's because the CW cut a scene that was supposed to be there.
I don't feel like they did in that case.
Which, if they did, boo on them for that. But if that's not the case, then they just, decided to not deal with the cliffhanger at all.
I feel like I think that they're going to sprinkle it in a little bit. Like, we got one flashback scene during this episode about later that night. And I feel like maybe they're going to do that a little bit more. We got almost a little hint that we're going to deal with Sully's health.
Yes, yeah.
So I feel like possibly that was foreshadowing that that's going to continue, and maybe we're going to see more of that night when we address that, possibly.
If that's the case, my opinion will change a little bit, depending on how they handle it.
Yeah.
But still, I think we need something. At the beginning of the episode, I'm like, okay, what happened to Sully? What's his fate? I'm pretty sure they did not kill him, because I know that they didn't.
Right.
I read the press material, so I know that he's still alive going into this episode. But how are they going to deal with this? He just randomly shows up 8 minutes into the episode.
He's just fine, yeah. Which, again, we expected him to be fine, but how did he escape the building?
Right, yes. And I think you need, if they're going to play that narrative trickery thing, okay, but I really think you need to do that, to resolve the cliffhanger right up front, rather than doing whatever it is that they're going to do with that.
Yeah.
If you want to hint at, future possible health concerns as a result of this, I'm all good with that, but I think you need to resolve the cliffhanger.
Right.
But other than my annoyance with that,
I think part of it is back to my problem is, when are we? How much time has passed since that night? Mm-hmm. I really would have loved at the beginning of this episode a X months later title card to come up. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know, is this a week later? Is this 8 months later? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
Right.
I have hints of both of those being true.
Now, the other thing is, and it's funny, because I generally don't like when television shows include miscarriage plot lines as story points. I just don't enjoy them going there. I really didn't like it when they did it with This Is Us, during the Big Three trilogy, when they had that. I really did not. I just don't enjoy that. And in that case, that was a miserable episode dealing with that particular plot line. But having said that, and I knew that going in, that was going to be a plot point.
Right, because we got spoiled a little in our situation.
Having said that, it's actually probably the best story in this episode. They handle it really, really well throughout the episode.
Yeah, so what they do with that is, we're not told that right off the bat.
Yeah.
We're kind of hinted at something's going on with Maggie. And almost you're left thinking, did her dad die?
Right, and I thought that initially too, that they were trying to trick us into believing that, but there's I think they were not actually trying to do that, because some of the early hints, some of the things that we saw early on was kind of hinting at the miscarriage and kind of pointing in that direction, that something happened with the baby.
Right.
When you rewatch the episode. But yeah, I was under the impression that they were trying to trick us into thinking that Sully had actually died. And then, whoops, there he is.
There he is, and we will learn, I think, in that same scene where we first see him, that she did, in fact, lose the baby the night of the fire.
Right. Actually, I don't know if it was the first scene with them. I think it might have been a later scene.
Well, at some point.
Right,
that comes up. We'll get there.
Yeah, it's in my notes.
Yeah, I mean, in one regard, I feel like it's a little bit lazy. Just, giving her a miscarriage. I feel like that's almost too easy of how we're going to wrap up that storyline.
It goes to something that has annoyed me about Sullivan's Crossing from the beginning. The tendency to spend entire seasons on a story and then just throw it away.
Right.
We spent the entire season dealing with Maggie's pregnancy, only to be like, nope, never mind.
Yeah.
It goes to the whole spending the entire season making us think that Sully was responsible for hitting Lola, and then going, nope, never mind.
Right. I mean, that's drama.
Right.
You're going to have that, but I do think they're doing good things with how this is affecting Maggie, how it's affecting her relationship with Cal.
Yeah, I think they handled it well in this episode.
But in the same regard, I'm going to say, I don't want to spend all season of Maggie is forlorn because she lost her baby.
Right. I think maybe they kind of resolved that in this episode. It seems like they did.
They lend to she had some closure by
Right.
the end of this episode. And I don't need them to forget it happened and never mention
Right.
it again. But
Yeah.
I need them to not just keep it a central plot point for her. You know, she has to have some growth past this.
Right. Yeah.
But I do love that it means she doesn't have to keep pulling Andrew into the story.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe we don't need to see Andrew this season at all.
Well, I do know we do see him. He is in the cast list for the season.
Oh, okay.
So he's going to be around at some point. Actually, no, he's not. I'm thinking of Walter. Peter
Yes.
Outerbridge is in the cast list.
Right. I don't want to see him either, but
I don't want to see him either. But you know, and that's an interesting thing is we don't know. I mean, we don't know everything that's going to happen in the season, but we do have the cast list. So here's our main cast. Here's our recurring cast. Peter Outerbridge is listed as a recurring character this season.
that's interesting.
But I don't see any mention of Alan Hocko.
Right.
So he may or may not pop in.
I mean, it could still be a guest starring role.
Absolutely could be. Right. We just don't have any knowledge of that going into like press
Right.
materials. You know, it hasn't been advertised that these are the guest stars we're going to see this year. I also don't see Phoebe. I'm sure we're going to see her at some point.
Right, of course.
And it's weird to me that Walter's character made that list and not Phoebe's character.
That doesn't make any sense at all. I don't see why we would see Walter and not Phoebe in this season, but
I'm sure we'll see them both.
right,
It's
yeah.
just a weird decision that, and I'm sure it has something to do with particular contracts of who's considered a guest star, who's
Right.
considered recurring, all these things, you know.
So the other threads in this episode, Sully's storyline is a little uneven. At some points, I'm like, okay, what exactly is the issue here?
I kind of like where we are with Sully.
I
It's
like-
funny
I
to
like-
see him
yeah.
struggling with change. I think it's cute a little bit.
And you know what? I'm perfectly okay with that part of it, but then there's this whole problem that he has with like someone thinking that he's going to be forced to retire, which I didn't get.
Yeah.
And like the problem suddenly becoming about writing a statement. Like I think like his story is kind of all over the place a little bit here. I do like how it ends, and I kind of hope that they continue to play with some of these things because it is a worthy area of exploration.
Yep.
So I think if this is it for that those conflicts, I don't really like that. But if it's going to be an ongoing season thread, I think that they could mine some material out of that. As far as Rafe and Sydney in this episode, I spent the entire episode wondering what bug was up Rafe's ass.
Yeah, Rafe's having a hard time of it.
Right.
Now, I do love that Rafe
Yeah.
and Sydney got a lot of plot this
Yeah.
episode. Because, of course, they're part of our supporting cast,
Right.
that we love those side
Right.
stories. So I'm happy that they got a fairly significant chunk of this.
Right.
But as usual, their relationship is... I'm struggling with it. I'm
Yeah.
struggling with what are we doing with this relationship?
Yes.
Because just like Cal and Maggie, it's like, finally, Rafe and Sydney are together. Are we going to be in a positive place for them? And they're struggling.
Right.
And I don't want that. I don't want this to be another season of, oh, maybe we should be together, maybe we shouldn't. What are we doing? Or do we work? Back and forth. I
Right.
don't like that.
Yeah.
If you're going to be together and
Right.
be happy.
Right.
And let's have another storyline.
You could have conflicts within the relationship and not have this wishy-washy crap. And I think the culprit in this episode is Rafe. Like I don't understand this problem throughout this episode.
So I guess he's overworked.
And
He's
I get
been
that.
pulling double shifts. He's
Yeah.
taken over for Connie,
Yep.
who is not present as we
Yeah.
had guessed.
Right. Okay, so he states his problem towards the beginning of the episode. And okay, I get this problem. And then he has another problem, and I understand that this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to get resolved. At the end of the episode, the last time we see him, like, Rafe, what the hell? What is your problem
He's
now?
just kind of miserable.
Yeah, he's just being a miserable
And
human
he's
being.
blaming Sydney for things that
Yeah.
I don't think he should be blaming her for,
Yeah, but-
and he's taking stuff out on her.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel pretty bad for Sydney in this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, exactly. It's like last season or the prior seasons, I was annoyed with Sydney in this relationship. Now I'm kind of annoyed with Rafe.
Yeah.
But we should probably get
I agree
into
with
it.
that.
Yeah, we should probably get it. Just go scene by scene and like get into specifics, unless you have.
Yeah,
more
we
to say.
kind of have covered like a lot of it already.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're new to our channel,
yeah.
here's what we do. We're going to go scene by scene through every little detail that happened in the episode and talk about it in much greater detail than that very long synopsis we just did.
Right, yes.
And we're also going to hit on all of the actors that we meet. Our main cast, of course, we've already talked about them, so we're not going to get into details about their credits, but all of our guest cast, our under 5 people, I got stuff to say about all of them.
All right.
Including a lot of people who have very, very minimal part of this episode, but I got a lot to say about them anyways.
Okay. So, the episode opens with beautiful Nova Scotian scenery. We see Maggie putting away some boating stuff, and then we see her taking some food from the outpost, specifically from Frank and Edna. They have very worried looks about Maggie as she goes away. Cal walks up outside.
Yeah, so you already passed 2 people who I'm going to talk about.
Okay, all right.
Our guest cast, who didn't actually have any lines.
Ah, yes.
We have customer wife and customer husband.
Okay.
Who are the people that Maggie is serving food to. So it's brand new, apparently,
gotcha.
is that they serve breakfast now. It's a big deal. We bring it up a couple times in the episode.
Right, yep.
So customer wife and customer husband are here. Their lines were cut.
Okay.
At first, I thought this was my first hint at what did the CW do to this episode. So this is also where I want to say there was a 2-minute time difference.
Okay.
Our screener episode from start to end of credits was 42 minutes and 10 seconds. The CTV length was 44:06, so just under 2 minutes have been cut from the Canadian broadcast for the U.S. broadcast. So, of course, I've got my detective eyes on trying to figure out what did they cut, right? Is it just a second here, a second there? Or did we lose a scene? Did we possibly lose story?
Gotcha.
Because that seems to be what happens.
It does happen. Did we lose an entire guest star or appearance from T. Thomason, like last season?
Right. So my guess was that something here was cut because we have 2 credited actors who didn't actually speak.
Right.
However, I did find out that this scene was also cut from the Canadian version.
Okay.
So it doesn't explain the 2 minutes, but customer husband is played by Eugene Sampang, and I've actually been talking to him.
Have you?
Which is where I got this information, that the scene was unfortunately cut from both versions.
Okay.
So it's not something we specifically are missing out on. We know him. We've talked about him multiple times on the channel. This is his first appearance on Sullivan's Crossing, but he's a Colony House resident on From.
Yep.
He's actually credited as Colony House resident number 1 for season 3 of From. He was in episodes 301 and 303. He's the one that was with Christy the day that she got caught in the bear trap.
Oh, yeah.
Collecting vegetables and all that.
Yeah.
And he also was in an episode of The Sinner. He was in an episode 404 as the medical examiner.
Yes.
So he was the medical examiner that worked on Percy,
right.
Alice Krummelberg.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's who he was working on.
Yeah, pretty sure.
There's a couple bodies in that season, but I think that's the right one.
Yep.
He also was on 8 episodes of Son of a Critch and 8 episodes of Trades. Neither of those shows I've had opportunity to see yet.
We've certainly heard of him, though, having gone through people's Internet Movie Database pages. But the Trades specifically.
Yeah, so he's my latest new Facebook friend.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was talking to him. And he said that they did definitely, him and his on-screen wife here did have lines, but it was cut from both versions.
Gotcha.
So doesn't explain the 2 minutes. The customer wife was played by Sherry Brown. She doesn't have a lot of credits. She was in 4 episodes of 22 minutes. And literally as I was taking these notes, I'm scrolling Facebook, and there she is in My People You May Know.
Okay.
On Facebook. Literally all of the under 5 people in this episode, except for one, Ira Henderson, who we'll meet in a minute. All the rest of them are on My People You May Know list, which is so insane to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I recognize these names, not because of their IMDb or because of their other credits. I mean, some of them, like, I recognize, like his, because we've talked about him before.
Yeah.
But, like, Sherry Brown, she has nothing on her filmography that I've ever touched before. But I'm like, I recognize the name and the picture, and it's like, oh yeah, there she is on my Facebook. And it's such a backwards feeling.
Right.
Like, I'm at the point now, right? And you were before you
got booted
weren't on Facebook anymore, where our are people you may know, does have celebrities in it.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're friends with people. We're friends with celebrities.
Yep.
Who knew? And we're friends with people who are friends with celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see like big names in there, right? People that I know from television. And it's like, oh, that's super cool. Like somebody I know as an actor I'm seeing on Facebook.
Right.
This is the opposite. This is like I'm recognizing people on TV because I know them on Facebook.
Right, yeah.
So it's such a surreal feeling.
Yeah.
To like have that backwards connection to like I recognize people in the background and these under 5 actors and it's like, where do I know you from? Not from a show. I know you because, I see you when I'm scrolling.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Super crazy.
It's a crazy world we're living in nowadays.
Anyways. So yes, that's 2 of our people. She serves them breakfast. And then Cal arrives.
Yep. Cal walks up on her outside. Cal walks up on her outside, smiling. She runs to give him a hug. He's been in survival training for search and rescue because he started doing that last season towards the end. Maggie's moving into Maggie's not moving into a new place across in the crossing. Cal is. I was really confused about that point. I thought Maggie was moving somewhere else, but as it turns out, Cal is the one who's moving somewhere.
Okay, so Cal just moved into a new cabin, but in this scene, they are talking about Maggie unpacking.
Right.
Because she just moved all of her crap here from Boston.
Gotcha.
So they are talking about him helping her unpack.
Okay.
But in Sully's house.
Gotcha.
She's unpacking.
So that's the point I was really confused on until like later in the episode. They end up kissing, for the first time and not for the last in this episode. And we have our credits. When we come back, we are at survival training with Cal and Rafe, who's acting fire chief. And he's straight up not having a good time, bro. He's not enjoying being fire chief because it's a lot of extra hours. And we get a reference to Connie, who I guess we're not going to see this season, or at least not in the first episode.
Definitely not in the first episode.
Yeah.
But we address her, so that's good that we're not pretending she doesn't exist. Because she was a pretty big side character the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, she has gotten a new job and moved on.
Yeah, she took the job at whatever lake. I forget what it was called. So she's doing bigger and better things. Rafe has been the interim fire chief. And, I didn't even realize Connie was the fire chief.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either. I thought she was like the leader of search and rescue. Or
well, that's the thing that we've always had issue with is what is the demographics of first responders in Timberlake. Because it was always just Connie and Rafe doing everything. They're not the police, but they're the fire. Yep. They're the search and rescue. They're the ambulance, literally.
Yes.
They've shown up driving the ambulance. Like, what is the deal here?
Right.
They're everything.
No wonder Rafe is so tired. He's literally doing every single job.
Yeah, because Connie's gone, and he's the only one that's allowed to talk, so.
All right, so in the scene, I'm understanding what Rafe's conflict here is. He doesn't like being the fire chief. He's tired. He's overworked. I get all that.
Yeah.
So I don't have an issue with him right here. As the episode progresses, I'm going to have more issues with him.
So part of the problem is he said he didn't realize how long it was going to take for them to find a replacement for Connie.
Right.
You should have realized that because you're the only 2 that do anything ever.
Right. Yes.
But
I'm surprised they didn't have Maggie doing it.
So when he stepped up as interim chief, he didn't realize how long that was going to take. Which brings me back to the point of how long has it been?
Right.
Cal's still in training.
Yes.
So it hasn't been that long.
Right.
Or has it?
Who knows? Or maybe Rafe is just whiny after a couple days of hard work.
Because here's the big basis of this my timeline dilemma. When we left off in 210, it was the beginning of the school year.
Yes.
We knew in 208 or 209, Finn went back to school.
Yep, who we don't see in this episode.
He's at camp. That is, we're told to that. He's at summer camp.
Right.
He started school in 208 or 209. So he was in school in 210, collecting all those coins.
So we skipped the...
Is it the next summer?
Right.
Because we're talking about how it's early in the season and the campground is full.
Right.
Does that mean summer? Did we fast forward 8 months?
Right, yeah.
And if we did, things like... I'm just so freaking confused about the timeline. This is what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's the beginning of the next summer.
Yes.
But it also doesn't feel like 8 whole months have passed.
Right.
Maggie just moved her things here.
Right.
She's still very clearly dealing with everything that happened the night of the fire. Mm-hmm. Which I get she'd still be dealing with it, but Everybody's walking on eggshells around her. You think we'd have moved past that point if it's been 8 months.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah.
But the way he's talking, he's like, I didn't realize it was going to take so long.
Right.
Maybe it has been a while.
Right.
How long has it been, Rafe?
Maybe we're in multiple different timelines here, and Rafe's story is happening at a different point in time.
Maybe the school year is only a month long
right.
in this world.
Maybe.
Because Finn started school, but now he's at camp.
Well, they don't have any teachers, so because and Rafe is probably like the principal and everything else too. So
also in this scene we have S&R teammate, search and rescue teammate, who again doesn't have any lines. This is David Light. Excuse me. We've talked about him previously as well because he was also in the Sinner episode 404, the same episode as Eugene. He played a paramedic.
Okay.
So probably the person moving Alice's body.
Yes, yep.
He also was in one episode of King and Pawn and the new movie Sharp Corner that Reed Price is.
Yes, yep.
And again, as I was scrolling, there he was on my People You May Know. And it's funny, his IMDb page doesn't have a picture.
Yeah.
So on first playthrough, I didn't know who S&R teammate was.
Right.
And then I assumed he must be in this scene, but then I'm scrolling Facebook, and there he was, David Light, friends with, all these other actors, so I'm sure it's the right David Light.
Right.
So now I know what he looks like, because I saw his Facebook picture, and I was able to be like, oh yeah, that's the dude that was running with Cal.
Well, that's next level right there.
Cal beat him in a race.
Yeah.
And he must have had a line, because he got a credit, but the line was cut.
Right. And you recognized him off of your Facebook page rather than Internet Movie Database.
Yes, because he doesn't have a picture on Internet Movie Database. Us.
That's just next level crazy. All right.
It gets crazier when we get to the next set. So
okay.
Be ready for that. I got crazier Facebook stories than that.
All right. Meanwhile, Edna and Frank, who's having hearing issues, are at the outpost with Maggie when a family checks in. The family has a kid, which Maggie looks at wistfully. The mother ends up dropping a toy, and Maggie helps her with it. She asks about the kid, and she's asked if she has any kids herself, which Maggie says no.
Okay, so this family...
Yep.
And this is one of those moments where the toy is a fire truck.
Yeah.
So she picks it up, and we're hinted at the fire, right? And this is one of those times where, she's sad. She's sad about the fire. Is she sad about the kid? Is she still pregnant?
Right.
This is where we don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, so it's here that I think they're trying to trick me into thinking that Sully is actually dead. But rewatching the scene, like after watching the episode, it's kind of obvious what's going on.
Yeah, she's sad because she lost her baby the night of the fire.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, are they trying to make me think that Sully is dead, or is that just happenstance?
Right.
Right. I don't know if they're trying to trick me or if they're just like,
But either way, Maggie's reminded of the night. She's sad. Well, here we are already, where I had other people to talk about.
Yes, yep.
So Father, he's played by Ira Henderson. Don't recognize him from Facebook. He's the only one in this cast list this week that I don't recognize.
Gotcha.
He was in one episode of Haven, 2 episodes of the Lizzie Borden Chronicles, things that we see all the time in our Nova Scotian credits. The mother, who's credited as mother/baby, the mother of the baby.
Okay. I was wondering if she was also playing the baby at the same time.
She is played by Lyndon Campbell, whose name I recognize.
I also recognize it. I don't know why, but I recognize it.
So I looked her up. She was in 2 episodes of Moonshine, an episode of Digstown. Pretty typical stuff, but not anything that we've talked about before.
Right.
So I also see her on My People You May Know.
Okay.
And I realized who she is. She's very good friends with Reed Price and Morgan Melnick, his girlfriend, who is a makeup artist on From.
Okay.
Morgan and Lyndon are actually roommates.
Oh, okay.
So they're in each other's posts all the time.
Right, yeah. Okay.
And I don't know if they're roommates now, but they were at some point.
Gotcha.
So I've seen her in reference to, like, those kind of personal posts before.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's who she is. Okay, so...
All right.
And that's my crazier Facebook story, is this has nothing to do with their credits or anything.
You recognize them from appearing
I've seen her ad for her apartment that she posted before. So, yeah, that's the life we live now.
All right.
And I don't know if they're ever going to be seen again, but they're the Smiths. No, they're not the Smiths. My note is the Smiths from season 1. Stayed in the same cabin. Cabin 12 is where this family is put. And that's the same cabin from that the Smiths were put in. And I know that because we had just done our rewatch.
Right.
And I took note, like, oh, that was the same cabin.
Okay.
Of course, the Smith family was a big deal in season 1.
Right, yes. I'm wondering if that's like the cursed cabin where, like, bad things happen to the people who stay in that cabin.
Maybe.
I'm kind of worried about this couple now. Now that you bring that up.
Yeah, it could be. Because later we'll find out this is the cabin that they want to put Helen in, and she can't go there because this family's there.
Right. All right, so Maggie ends up heading out to do some more unpacking. Edna asks Frank if she's going to be okay, and he says he doesn't know. At this point, we don't know what the problem is. Is it Sully is dead, or she was the baby? Is that the issue? So we cut to Rob, who's on the phone with a contractor at home when Sydney comes in, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time that we've actually seen Rob's home, or at least.
No, we've seen his
no,
house.
never mind. We have seen it. Right.
We've seen it a few times. This might be the first time we've seen his kitchen.
Gotcha. It definitely didn't look familiar.
Yeah, I did take note. And you know what? It was bigger and more grandiose than I thought it would be. But we've seen, like, Finn's bedroom and some other stuff in his house before.
So he says the contractor will get started on a new place once he has the deposit. He's waiting the insurance check.
How long does that take?
Right.
Well, I'm trying to get these clues on how much time has passed. Weeks or months?
It could be months before one gets a check. I'm not totally sure, though. It could also work differently in Canada. Sydney... actually. He's become distant from Jane because he's trying to build back his business. Jane, of course, was his love interest last season.
Yeah, they stopped seeing each other.
Right.
Because Rob basically said he's just got too much on his plate. Sydney thinks it's a mistake.
Of course.
Leaving behind Jane. The last time we saw him before the fire, he was off to go tell Jane, like he was in. He was taking Sydney's advice. He was all in to see where things went with her, and then, boom. And
literally, boom.
But yeah, Sydney says she ran into Jane at yoga, and she jokes that she told her that Finn was away at camp, and Rob was lonely moping around the house. I think that was a perfectly lovely answer if she had said that.
Yeah.
But she said she was just joking. So this is where we found out Finn's at camp. That's why he wasn't in this episode. But this was our first scene getting to see Reed Price and Lindura back on our screens. So all in for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked to both multiple times on our channel. We have one interview with Lindura and 2 with Reed Price. So, Maggie's unpacking or packing in her old room.
She's putting clothes away.
At this point when I'm taking my notes, I wasn't sure which was going on here.
She's putting her laundry away, I think, is what's happening.
Okay. When she notices some baby clothes, Sully randomly shows up 8 minutes in, and he's alive. And he does a little cough, which Maggie is, of course, concerned with. We're thinking maybe it's smoke inhalation and, a reaction to being in a fire. But he says he's okay. It's just allergies. The doctor checked him out. Maggie, of course, is going into doctor mode, but he's like, nah, I'm fine. We're good. Right.
Which, as this is us fans.
Right.
After the fire.
Yes.
You got to worry about that smoke.
Right. But I don't think... well, once again, we don't know how long this has been, but I don't think Jack Pearson took 8 months to die.
No, he took one night.
Right.
But,
yeah.
It's definitely, like, in that vein
of
like, well, maybe he's okay right now, but maybe he's got long-term health effects, and maybe he's not going to survive this season.
Yeah, maybe not.
And, he said the doctors checked him out, but these are the Timberlake doctors.
Right.
In season 2, they thought he had dementia, when really he had, like, a brain parasite or something, right?
Yeah, something
like they had no idea what's going on, so I don't know if you should trust them.
Right.
To really be like, you're cool, you're cleared.
Right.
I'd get another opinion.
I would as well. Maybe even Maggie's. So there's an early reference to Sully's annoyance with Edna for making so many changes. Basically talking about, well, I'm going to go to the head to the outpost to make sure she isn't painting the walls pink. And then he leaves. So, and then we have more of that with Sully arriving at the outpost. Edna's been moving things around.
And he can't find his coffee mug. It's in a different cabinet.
Right. And she's made a new check-in system, modernizing how they used to do things, but Sully is not thrilled with any of this. And she wants him to write a mission statement for the website, which he's reluctant to do, but Edna points out that he's the face of the campground, so he must do so. Frank offers him to go help with the garden, which Sully ends up accepting. And I'm pretty sure this is Frank's way of getting him out of the situation so that they can go and talk.
Frank is realizing how hard Sully's taking all these changes. And she's just like, get with the times, dude.
Right.
Now, I find it really surprising that it took her having a partnership in the company. Because remember, that's what happened, is Frank and Edna are partners now. To insist on some of these changes. I really feel like it's in her character that she would have been pushing for these things right along.
Yeah,
even though she didn't have any ownership, she's the one that was working the outpost. She's the one that was checking guests in. So wouldn't she have pushed for more organization and a computer system that works a long time ago? I mean, I can see that he would have put up resistance to it.
Right.
But it feels odd to me that she's only choosing to really push this stuff now that she has power to do so.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense to me. It definitely seems like that would have been in Edna's character to push for these things long before now. So meanwhile, Rafe is cleaning his fire truck. He's like hosing it down or something when Sydney happens upon him, and she's feeling very randy. And so she starts taking off her top. And by the way, this is outside. I mean, I guess they don't have to worry about anybody coming out to see them. Because
is it outside? I thought it was in the house.
I could have sworn I saw like sun or something.
I thought it was like in the station.
Maybe, perhaps.
He's at work though, regardless of where exactly they are. And she's like, yeah, the bed felt empty, and he hoses her down. He says, you need a cold shower. She might. But yeah, so they're making out against the fire truck.
Right, and Sydney basically has her shirt off. And then who should happen upon them but the new fire chief, Cooper. And this is not a great first impression for Rafe. He says basically that I wasn't expecting you till next week. Well, I guess the news is that he's going to be here a little sooner, which should be good news for Rafe, by the way, because now he doesn't have to be acting fire chief anymore. Cooper is played by Steve Lund, 53 credits for him, including being Erica, a bunch of Christmas movies, and 5 episodes of Haven.
He also was in 5 episodes of Schitt's Creek and 33 episodes of Bitten.
Yes, and that was, of course, was mentioned in the description.
Which he's listed as a guest star for this week, as well as the Helen character, which we're going to meet soon. But I'm pretty sure both of them remain through the season as new recurring characters.
I mean, I would imagine so. They're kind of set up that way.
Yeah.
Unless, like, Cooper is going to go away after a couple episodes for some reason, but I can't imagine why that would be the case.
Right. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of both of these characters going forward.
So Maggie shows up at Cal's new place for lunch. He ends up giving her a gift, which is a necklace. They kiss, she breaks away, and walks away to go to the bathroom to cry. And this is going to be like a reoccurring motif of her getting kissed by Cal and then getting upset and going away because she's upset about, of course, because she lost the baby. Meanwhile, Sully is helping Frank. Sully is resentful of the changes Edna is making, but also seems to be under the impression that she's trying to push him out and make him retire. I have no idea why he has that feeling, and I kind of wish if they were going to bring it up, that they'd kind of resolve that, like they had him speak to Edna about it.
Yeah.
Because that's just
that whole thing does sit kind of weird.
Yeah.
First of all, Frank mentions his retirement.
Right.
Which we knew that way back in like 101. Yes. He mentioned how he's retired. Mm-hmm. So technically Edna works for him, but Frank doesn't.
Right.
Which is weird because he's literally always there anyways, and he does do work for him in every episode helping him with stuff.
Right, except for this one.
He's just not getting paid for it anymore.
I don't know.
So I've always been very confused by Frank's retirement.
Right.
But now he's mentioning how he felt, he felt like that too when he retired. And Sully's like, I'm not retiring.
Right.
Well, why do we feel that way? Because just because they have part ownership now? Because Edna's always ran the outpost.
Right.
What are you doing differently?
Right.
Than before?
Yeah.
Like you're doing the outside stuff and she's doing the inside stuff. Isn't that kind of how they always did it?
Yeah, and that's the one part of this episode, or Sully's part of it, that just kind of confuses me. Like, I don't understand where this retirement stuff is coming from. Like, why he's suddenly so concerned about that. I mean, if he feels like Edna is trying to take over completely and push Sully out, like, I wish that was something that was explored more.
And also remember, he's the one that gave them ownership.
Exactly. So I don't quite get his problem here. So that part of his story doesn't really fully make sense to me.
Yeah, so he just kind of gets up and runs away from the situation.
Right. Rafe goes to talk to his boss, all apologetic, and Cooper seems to prepared to just forget about it. He basically just squashes the entire thing and says, "Nah, not an issue." And
yeah, so Rafe's like, hey, it's never happened before, it's never going to happen again. And he's trying to be friendly with Cooper. He's talking about Sydney. He's like, it's a new relationship. Yep. I've been working these long hours. Cooper makes it clear, we're not going to be friends.
Right.
I don't care about your personal life.
I mean, at the same time, he's not making an issue of, like, the whole Sydney and him making out thing.
He's not talking about it being an issue, but in the same conversation, he punishes him by telling him he's going to work in the office getting the paperwork done.
Is that a punishment, though?
Yes, because Rafe's like, I'm really eager to get back on the field, and he's like, too bad.
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of part of transition? Like, you're transitioning
Sure, but
from...
I definitely got the whole, like, I'm not going to give you anything you want because maybe you don't deserve it.
I don't know. That's not the same kind of vibe I got.
Okay.
I kind of felt like this was like, you know, you're going to be my right-hand man kind of feeling. Yeah, it's like, I didn't see the whole helping me out in the office thing as a punishment.
I saw it that way.
Really more like a promotion, but sort of like...
We'll see how their relationship progresses.
Yeah, I just viewed it differently.
But I definitely got the insinuation that Cooper's like, I don't want to be your friend.
Okay.
This is professional.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about who that woman is. Like, I don't want to know what's going on in your life outside of these doors.
Okay.
I found it interesting that he calls it a new relationship.
Right.
Indicates we haven't fast-forwarded 8 months, maybe?
Right. You're not referring to a relationship you've been in for 8 months as a new relationship.
Right.
Not at that point. Like,
so, maybe it's not summer?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are we on a fall camp?
Maybe.
That Finn is at? Is this the fall camping season starting?
Is that an actual thing?
I don't know!
I mean, maybe it is in Nova Scotia.
I'm so confused about this timeline.
All right. So Sydney ends up showing up at the outpost to tell Maggie about what just happened with Rafe.
And she's here to get bank statement. So I'm guessing she's regularly doing the books now. Like, she picked that up at the end. And I feel like maybe they took her on to do that on a regular basis now.
Gotcha. So she goes off after getting her bank statements to make Rafe a romantic dinner. Frank returns to the outpost without Sully. Edna thinks he's still mad about the mugs. And again, this is not a conflict that we resolve in any kind of way. We just kind of like transition to something else. But Maggie offers to go home to check in on him. Frank suggests slowing down on the changes. I think maybe Frank is worried that Sully, as a result of all this stuff, is going to go back to drinking.
Yeah, it feels like he's definitely worried about Sully. And nobody's picking up on these things, except for Frank. I mean, that's what your best friend's for.
Right.
And you know what I realized here is I was like, Maggie really doesn't want to work. She's very eager to leave this. This is the third time she's leaving the outpost.
I'm actually surprised
to go do something else.
I'm actually surprised she's like, you know what? I gotta go home and pack right now. But anyway, Edna basically says it will never be the right time for Sully to quit worrying about him. Sully will be fine. Rafe pops home. And this scene really pissed me off with Rafe.
He was very cold with Sydney.
Right.
Basically like, you screwed me over at work with my new boss. Because, you wanted to kiss me.
Right.
How dare you?
So, Sydney's all apologetic and asks, are you in any trouble? The answer is no. Because the boss has basically been like, this is not an issue. Don't worry about it. And basically, Rafe isn't telling her that. He's basically like, well, that wasn't the first impression I wanted to make, giving Sydney crap, who already feels bad about the situation.
Right.
She already knows what she did wrong here.
But let's not pretend like he wasn't there too. Right. Participating in what was happening.
How dare you seduce me into doing this thing that I didn't want to. But, so, all right. He's basically acting like a complete butthole.
And he says he's going to skip dinner.
Right.
She made his favorite meal, lasagna. We know because she was telling Maggie how she's doing this whole thing, right? She's like, I'm going to make this romantic dinner. She puts a lot into it, and he's just like, nah, I'm going to take a shower and go to bed.
All right, I'm sorry, but I get that you're tired. But, you're no longer acting fire chief, because there's now a fire chief there.
Yeah.
The problem that the boss catching you making out with your girlfriend and maybe having her shirt off, he doesn't care about that. He's squashed it as far as, as far as he said. You can't just sit down and have a meal.
I mean, aren't you hungry?
Right. You don't want to eat anything? Like, you've been working all these long hours and you're not interested in eating lasagna? And you're going to leave Sydney thinking that there's a problem with your relationship and not
Right.
giving her any comfort
Which
whatsoever.
There is at this point.
Right, because
he's making one.
Rafe is basically being a douche here.
Yeah. He was very rude to her.
And I think
I feel sorry for her. She went through a lot. She's trying to fix whatever happened and make light of it and apologize for her part in it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, nah.
And I'm pretty sure that's like, well, it's not the last time because we do see him briefly in a scene later on. But that's the last time we hear him talk.
Yeah.
Like, this is the last scene of any significance for Rafe other than that final scene that we see towards the end of the episode.
And let's remember his whole problem with these long hours, as he told Cal on the beach, is because he doesn't get to spend any time with Sydney.
Right, exactly. So, I don't know, Sydney, maybe you should, like, sprinkle some Prozac into Rafe's Wheaties or something, because I don't understand his problem at this point. All right, so moving along. So, Sully and Maggie talk where we officially have it confirmed, said out loud, that she lost a baby, and it was a result of Sully almost dying in the fire, because basically, as a result of the stress from thinking that her dad had just gone kablooey, caused her to miscarry the baby.
Right.
And he feels responsible for that. And we don't get any insight whatsoever into how he didn't die. And it would have been nice if we had. And also, his problem now seems to be about feeling like he's expected to retire. He's upset with Edna because he thinks basically, I'm not going to retire. And like I said, that doesn't make any sense. But I think that's the last time we really hear about him talking about
retiring. And Maggie tries talking him down. She very correctly is like, everything Edna's doing, she's only doing what's best for the crossing. Right. She's not trying to upset you. And he's like, yeah, I know, you're right.
Maybe that is the resolution to this, but I still feel like the conversation should have been between Edna and Sully and not
the thing
here.
Is, Edna doesn't realize.
Right.
It's completely gone over her head how upset Sully really is over all of this.
And I guess this is within Sully's character not to express exactly what his problem is to Edna, but like I said, I think that conversation should have happened. And maybe it will later in the season. Like, maybe we're not done with this past this episode. Maybe we're going to continue to see this past this episode. But we'll see.
Cal comes and helps Maggie unpack.
Yep, we're unpacking again.
We're unpacking boxes of books, and I don't know if you noticed, but she's got Robin Carr books in her boxes.
Yep.
Very meta moment there.
Yep.
Of course, Robin Carr being the author of the Sullivan's Crossing book series.
Right.
I tried, freeze framing to look at the titles, but I couldn't make out if they were actual book titles or not.
And they end up quoting poetry together, and then they end up sharing another kiss. And again, she stops and suggests if they can just, keep unpacking or whatever.
They're unpacking.
Right, unpacking.
And I didn't catch what poem he read, but it had something to do with roots intertwining, which I know this was foreshadowing to, all the tree stuff we're going to deal with later. But to me, it just reminded me of From... And that's all where my head went, as we're talking about tree roots. Right, yeah.
So Sully returns to the outpost and has to be reminded where his mug is. I love that that's a continuing plot point of, oh my god, where is my mug? But Frank ends up leaving for some reason. I don't know if he's trying to give them a chance to talk or something.
Oh yeah, maybe.
But it doesn't happen.
People just love leaving in this episode. Yes, everybody that comes to the outpost I'm going to go do something else now.
So Edna gives him crap for not finishing the statement, saying, hey, I need it done now, or today, or whatever. And a new camper comes in.
He agrees to it this time. He's like, okay, I'll write it. I think what Maggie said, he's going to try to get along with Edna in this moment.
All right, so a new camper comes in, Helen, played by Kate Vernon, and this is not a small-time actress. This is not the usual Nova Scotia-type actress. She has 101 credits for her, including 24 episodes of Battlestar Galactica, a revival movie as well, I'm pretty sure. She was in a Star Trek Voyager episode, the 6th season episode In the Flesh, and I'm pretty sure she was one of the creatures in that episode. And she was also in the movie Malcolm X.
She was also in one episode of NCIS, 3 episodes of The 100, 2 episodes of Heroes, and the movie Pretty in Pink. So Kate Vernon has a very prolific career. You don't, and again, I think we're going to continue to see. I think she's going to be a season-long arc with her.
Yeah, you don't... And she basically has love interest for Sully stamped on her forehead.
Well, it was kind of shoved down our throats that that's what this character is going to be.
Right. But you don't bring in an actress like Kate Vernon with all these credits, and she's pretty prolific. and just have her appear in a single episode.
Right.
You're going to continue to use her.
So she's coming to stay the season, whichever season this is.
Season 3.
Whichever camping season this is. We're introduced to her as Helen Culver, Culver. And I have to just point that out because Culver is a family name
Of
for
course.
me.
Yep.
Which our listeners probably don't know that. But I grew up with Culver, Culver. Like that statement that's like a household word in my language. Like the spelling of the name.
Gotcha.
So to hear her go, Culver, Culver, was just like such a meta little moment for me that I loved. Because that's how you say the name.
Gotcha.
Like you have to spell it. It's just
Right.
it's just how it exists. It's how it exists. But I can't find her reservation.
Right.
She's not in the new computer system.
Right, because Sully ended up writing it down.
Yeah, Sully took the call, promised her cabin 12, but only wrote it on a sticky note. It's not in the computer, which is why Edna already gave away cabin 12 to that other family.
And so they're arguing about this, and Helen ends up drinking Sully's coffee, which is pretty weird, by the way.
It is weird. It's like there's a cup of coffee sitting on the table, and she's just like, I'm just going to pick this up and drink it.
As a tax for his screw-up. And so we cut to Rob, who's talking to the contractor. He's found the perfect spot to build the new...
to rebuild Shandon's.
Shandon's. And he's still waiting on the check. The contractor is basically like, hey, look, don't wait too long, because... it's pretty busy.
Yeah, he says there's a new development that he heard is starting.
Yeah.
That's our foreshadowing that's going to become important.
Right.
And of course, our contractor is a recognizable face for us.
Yes.
This is Taylor Olson playing the contractor. Taylor Olson, who we've talked about many, many, many times. He was in one episode of From this past season.
Yep.
He's a regular on King and Pawn. He actually wrote and directed that series as well.
Yeah, he's directed.
Reed Price stars in.
He's directed quite a few things too.
He was in one episode of The Sinner.
Yep.
That we covered. He was in Dawn, Her Dad, and the Tractor. He was in Halloween Party. He's in the movie Bone Cage, which he wrote and directed.
Yes.
Very busy man.
Yep.
Who just pops up everywhere.
Yep.
In all of these Nova Scotian projects.
I had at one point been in contact with him, and I was trying to get him for an interview. He ended up being very busy, and we never.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I mean,
not only is he writing and directing and like starring in projects,
right?
But he's a day player in like every series that exists,
right? So I never managed to actually get him to do that, but I did was talking to him at one point about appearing on the channel to talk to us.
We'd have plenty to talk to him about.
Yes,
we've covered like a dozen things that he's been involved in.
I mean, maybe you could try and see if you can get him.
I think I have a friend request out to him.
Yeah,
but I haven't heard from him.
Okay, maybe get Reed Price to help us out with it. So yeah, where are we? Okay, so yeah. He's basically, at this point, Rob is pretty happy because it seems like things are coming together for him.
Yeah, he's found a location, and it looks like an old seafood restaurant.
Yeah.
It reminded me, actually, of the restaurant from The Sinner.
Yes.
To be honest. Could be.
It could be the same location,
it could be.
For sure.
Absolutely, it could be. That's interesting. I'll have to dig into that. Although we probably won't go to this site again. So
right.
That might be it for that.
It's funny because...
I could talk to Reed. He actually might know where this was filmed.
Could. So it's funny because this scene just smacks of some... Things are about to go wrong for Rob. Like, you just feel it. That something bad is about to happen. He's way too happy in this scene. And we cut to Sully, who's taking Helen to find a new cabin.
Yes, she carries her bags to cabin 8, which is not what she was promised. She was promised cabin 12, which is private and secluded and has a lake view, because she's a writer and she's come here to write. And cabin 8 is in the middle of all the noise, and she's not happy about this. But he does tell her that as soon as that other family moves out, we're going to move you to cabin 12. So that makes me think the other family's not going to have a big stint. Maybe that was it for them. I don't know.
Not. They're probably all going to die in a fire or something,
Well, I do know that we need people to have search and rescue incidents.
Yeah,
so possibly they're in trouble for that.
Helen suggests free coffee to make up for the mistake, which Sully agrees to. And like my note here is, Sully's love interest is tattooed on her forehead.
Okay, so this is very clearly,
Yeah.
and I mentioned this to you before,
Yeah.
so I'm going to bring it up. This feels like a very, very direct Gilmore Girls
Oh,
reference.
yes.
Now, I had never watched Gilmore Girls, so I don't know these details firsthand.
You
But
could ask Albie because apparently he's a fan.
apparently, yeah. But if any of our listeners want to chime in on the Gilmore Girls connection here, Scott Patterson played Luke, who ran the diner in Gilmore Girls, was Lorelai Gilmore's love interest throughout that series. And from what I understand, their relationship was based on him giving her free coffee. And she was a coffee addict who
Right.
drank way too much coffee and took advantage of the fact that she got free coffee at Luke's. And she would come in for coffee all day long, and they had endless jokes and running gag about all the free coffee he was giving her.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, where that's our setup here now, is that Helen's going to get free coffee from the Outpost.
So we're going to see that for the rest of the season, her just constantly making coffee
That's
jokes.
what it sounds like.
Okay.
Yeah, but this has to be a Gilmore Girls
I'm
reference.
sure it is. I mean, it has to
It
be.
has to be.
Right. So Cal finds Maggie on the porch. He says he's there for her.
They're having lemonade.
Yeah. Maggie thinks that what happened to her is nothing special. She's basically making the whole, pregnancy, the whole
Miscarriage?
miscarriage, yes. The whole miscarriage thing as basically being a matter of statistics.
Yeah,
Statistics.
she gave a very clinical answer. She said 20% of first-time mothers lose their baby.
Yeah.
In other words, she's not dealing with this.
Yeah, she's not dealing with this
She's
from an emotional...
giving it doctor
Right.
jargon.
Which, by the way, is completely within her character
Yes,
to do.
it is.
This makes complete sense for how Maggie would deal with the situation.
So whether it's been weeks or months, she hasn't dealt with it yet.
Right.
But clearly it's eating at her. She just
Yeah.
hasn't actually admitted that this is what her problem is.
Right, yeah. So we see a flashback to when she's...
The night of the fire.
The night of the fire.
Yeah, because
when
she's in the hospital.
Right, and she's quickly told that, Sully is okay. He got out somehow. We're not going to, clarify how exactly.
Yeah, well, maybe we're following it from her perspective. Maybe she doesn't know yet, and we're going to continue that flashback thread.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, she's with Cal and Edna, and I think that was a great choice of who's with her
Yes.
in this moment. Cal obviously is her new partner.
Right.
Edna's like a mother to her.
Yeah, makes complete sense.
Frank is probably with Sully,
Yep.
because he's in another hospital room right now.
Probably.
So I like this flashback. I do wish that it came earlier and we got more of it.
I agree with that. But when Maggie learns that, she miscarried the baby, and, we have that gut-wrenching reaction from Maggie.
Yep.
She's usually very emotionally reserved, and to see her completely breaking down like that is just, completely heartbreaking. And this is a very well-done scene, all in all. Yeah, I think it should have happened sooner, but the scene is very good. Maybe the placement isn't great, but it still works. Sydney is visited by a very upset Rob, and we don't get a chance to see Reed Price play someone this upset.
Yeah, Reed Price, he's in tears. Rob's
Yeah.
in tears. This
Yeah.
is a very emotional scene from Reed.
Yeah. That we don't get very often.
don't get very
He's
often.
usually very cool and reserved.
All of his characters have
yeah.
been.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to see Rob in tears, going to his sister Sydney. That's who he leans on.
Yep.
Love that.
Yes.
Because he just got a letter from the insurance company.
Yep. His claim has been denied. There's something faulty with the hood or something or other.
Yeah, they're blaming the building.
Yeah. For the fire.
For the fire.
Yeah. And basically Rob emotionally blames himself. And it is kind of his fault. We did actually cover that.
He's like, if I didn't leave the chili on, well,
that's
yeah.
That's something that we talked about in the 210 rewatch video. I don't know if we addressed that in the actual podcast.
I'm sure we did.
Probably.
Because I know we were trying really hard to blame it on Clover.
We do, yeah.
And we couldn't.
I'm wondering if we're ever going to see Clover again.
Probably not, because I don't think she has a job anymore, because there's no restaurant
she
anymore.
Definitely does not. Do you think that Rob would hire her back as assistant manager if he gets a restaurant up and running again?
I don't think he should.
All right, so Helen ends up visiting the Outpost,
For coffee and a sandwich.
Basically, the coffee was already talked about. The free sandwich, not so much. And Sully is very annoyed by this, but Edna's like, nope, it's on us. And basically, Sully ends up going to the shed because he's really annoyed at this point. And Helen is basically told that he's struggling with writing for something for the website. Helen ends up going over to read what he's got, and she's basically talking about...
picks up the pen.
Right, and talks about writer's block. And then we cut to Maggie, who ends up opening up to Frank in the garden. She cries over her lost baby, and Frank says, a butterfly goes through most of its life convinced it's a caterpillar. He asks, do you want to live your life in a cocoon or spread your wings? Yeah. And she ends up kissing him, and he asks, like, what was that for? And it says because he helped her figure out what she needs to do.
Yeah, a very brief scene. She didn't actually offer any help in the garden.
No. It's also a very lovely scene between these two characters.
It is a lovely scene between them. And I don't think we'd mentioned the butterfly necklace. That's where this is rooted in. Earlier in the episode, Cal gave her a butterfly necklace that he picked up during that week he was away doing survival training. I guess he had time to go shopping. And... So the necklace has been mentioned a couple times. Like Sydney had noted it, that she has this new butterfly necklace. So Frank is using the necklace to bring up this comparison.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I said, very lovely scene between the two of those. This is where the episode really got me. Like, it got me emotionally. It got me invested in this episode the most. And, like, where some of my previous annoyances, like not resolving the cliffhanger, just kind of melted away a little bit. So Sully ends up going to Helen's. He's really pissed off that she edited his statement, and Sully goes off to explain what the place means to her angrily.
Giving a very impassioned speech. Like, you've been here 5 minutes, you don't know me, you don't know what this place means.
Right.
I'm going to tell you what this place means.
Right. And, of course, this was her plan all along, to bring out the passion in Sully and to get him to express what he should be writing in his statement. And I like this little play.
Yeah, it was cute.
Yeah.
It was cute. And I think he realized what she was doing and was like, I see you.
Right. But he's also, like, being his
He's annoyed that he got tricked.
Right.
But also, like, obviously happy about it because now he knows what to write.
Right. And he goes off to write his statement. Maggie finds Cal and says she thinks that she owes him an apology. And Cal's like, no, you don't owe me an apology. Because, once again, Cal is a great guy. Mm-hmm. She admits that she isn't okay. This is progress for her, by the way. This is not something that she might have done prior seasons, admitting that she is not okay.
Right.
And she basically, the baby meant a lot to her. She's been ignoring how she's feeling instead of facing it, which is something that she's done all along in the series. So, again, this is character growth right here. And it's great to see. But she's ready to do so now. Frank tells Edna that Maggie will be okay. She basically asks, "Is Maggie okay?" And Frank says that she will be. We learned that Edna lost a child as well.
Yeah. We very casually drop that. She's like, "I know what it's like to lose a child," and Frank says, "Oh, you would have been a wonderful mother. It just wasn't in the cards for us." So, okay, we're just dropping that in there, like we're supposed to know that already. It felt weird to me that it felt like plot we're supposed to know, and we don't.
Right. I don't know. I don't think it was necessarily something we were supposed to know. I think it was something we were supposed to discover about the character. But it would have been nice to kind of hint about that earlier in the episode a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, hint that, Edna perhaps has more of an understanding
than
maybe think she does.
We could have had a nice conversation between the two of them.
Right.
Because she's been through this.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe we will in a flashback eventually, or who knows what.
Right. So maybe we're going to expand upon that scene in the hospital.
Maybe. That would be a good place to put it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll see how the season plays out. And actually we'll start seeing it when we watch episode 2, if any that gets dropped in there. So Frank says his cousin Jacob is coming here soon, and she goes nuts with planning. They say, I got to do all this stuff, and just drops everything she's doing.
Yeah.
Frank points out, you don't even know when he's coming. Yeah. Like, it could be months from now.
But she's like, I'm going shopping. I'm going to go. It gave her something to do that's not the outpost.
The outpost, yeah. So Sully ends up writing his statement, and Frank basically starts kind of, bugging him about it. And basically he ends up shooing Frank away politely. Hey, buddy, I'd really like to write this. Can you go somewhere else right now?
Yeah.
But it was actually kind of civil for Sully. I would expect him to, Frank, go away or something. But Maggie and Cal walk in the woods. She shares a story about, what was the story about?
She's talking about how before her and her mom left, her and Sully planted a tree together, and he told her that no matter where she ever was, a part of her would always be here at the crossing. Which I found a little weird because it feels like that's a goodbye statement, but there was no warning that she was leaving with her mom. They just left.
Right.
So it had to have been more casually like, hey, when you leave, when you're all grown up, you'll always be a part of this.
Perhaps, yeah.
I don't know, I found something clunky about this story.
Okay. I mean, it was still
and how it fits into what we know.
You're right. It is clunky, but it was still kind of beautifully done at the same time.
Yeah, so basically they're going to plant a tree as closure for the baby.
And Sully ends up writing, he ends up reading the statement to Frank. We see Rob looking over those plans as Sully reads his statement. Edna's getting ready. Sydney's looking at pictures. I'm not sure what that was all about.
She's packing away all her modeling photos.
Okay.
Kind of an indication that that's still fresh and we haven't fast forwarded any time.
Rafe is in a meeting looking tired and annoyed and looking at his watch.
Yeah,
again,
Cooper's keeping him late hours and he's over it.
Right. Cal and Maggie are watering a tree in honor of the baby. Maggie seems at peace as she holds a butterfly in her hands.
A monarch butterfly?
Yes. The
monarch will be crowned?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about when I was taking these notes. So it flies away, and then we pan over to a truck and some construction and a sign reading, Luxury Resorts coming soon.
Yes, Seaside Splendor is the name of the company on the sign.
And that is very foreboding.
And this is the new development that Taylor Olson had alluded to. Right,
yes. And of course, this is going to be the same character from last season that I forgot his name, but he was
Glenn Perry.
Glenn Perry. He's definitely in the trailers, so he's definitely
he is in the cast list for this season.
Right.
Dean Armstrong will be reprising his role as Glenn Perry. So he's going to continue to be a thorn in Sully's side there. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was actually really beautiful symmetry. We're watching Cal and Maggie plant this tree. And then in the very next scene, we see a tree falling because they're chopping down trees for this development.
Right.
And of course, we know the whole thing is Sully respects the land. It's the native land, and they're very hesitant to do any new construction, right? Mm-hmm. And Glenn's just going to come in and tear down the neighboring plot. Right. So that stinks.
Right. So, yeah, overall, it was a pretty good episode, a good premiere. I'm excited to be back. Of course, I did have some issues with the episode. Maybe the season itself will resolve some of those issues. Yeah. We'll see. But overall, I enjoyed this episode, and I'm looking forward to it.
Did you catch who was missing in this episode?
Well, Finn was missing.
Right. We explained he's at camp.
Right.
And Connie's out of the picture, at least for now. But you know who was missing was Lola.
Oh, yeah. Lola was not in this episode.
No mention of her at all. Where's Lola?
Well, reading the spoiler that we're not supposed to talk about.
Right. She's definitely in the season.
Yes.
She's in the cast list, recurring cast. We're going to see her very soon. But where was she for the premiere?
That's a very good question.
Why did we not even get a mention of Lola? She's a pretty big character where we're hanging out, and they don't mention her at all in this episode.
Yeah.
Very strange, I find that.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see her in the next episode.
Yes, I think we will.
Yeah.
But yeah, she wasn't in this one. She was missing.
Yeah. Finn was missing.
And nobody seemed to notice that Lola was missing.
Maybe she's away at classes and it's not a big deal.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It felt strange that we didn't even mention
on
her.
the one hand, well, we definitely should have at least mentioned her and maybe had a cameo. But I think one of the problems with this series is sometimes there's too much story going on.
Sure.
So I think maybe not having her in this episode helps with that problem a little bit. But again,
I think it's okay for a side character to miss an episode, but it being the season premiere, I feel like we should have at least addressed her. Like we addressed Connie, we addressed Finn, but we didn't have a mention of Lola
at all.
Like maybe there should have been a statement like, "Oh, when Lola gets back next week from wherever she's at, she can help with this." Or
maybe there was a reference and it was cut.
Could be. 2 minutes were cut. We have no idea what.
Right. Yeah, so
Maybe she even had a scene. I don't know.
maybe it's possible.
If you watched in Canada, let
Yeah.
us know if Lola was mentioned in your 301 episode.
We're looking at you, Skylar Anderson. All right. Do we have anything else to say about this episode before concluding?
I think we covered the episode pretty well.
Yeah, I thought so.
We covered this up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Excited to see where we go next.
Absolutely.
I feel comfortable and good, and I love where all the characters are at. And
Other than Raven Sydney.
I mean, I don't mean I love like where they're at, but
Right.
I love like what we're doing. Like I
Right.
love that we've got everybody's there and there's stuff happening, and I'm excited to move forward and
Absolutely.
get some plot going.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And I really hope we can save Shandons.
Yes. I really hope
What's Rob gonna do?
Right. I really hope we have some good resolution to that. Maybe it will happen at the end of the season.
I hope so. But if you want to save Shandons, head over to our Zazzle store, where we have all kinds of Save Shandons merch available for sale.
Right. It'd be cool if we could like somehow make it so that some of the donations go to actual Rob in the Sullivan's Crossing universe to save Shannon's.
Well, we can pretend.
Okay. All right. Anything else to say?
That's all I've got for today. But look forward to where we're heading.
Yes.
And again, without spoiling anything, please leave your comments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, specifically keep your comments to 301 and anything we mentioned in this episode. Don't talk about the other episodes just yet. When we get to talking about those episodes, drop your comments then. All right, Stacie, we reached
I
at.
can reach on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at TVN Coupon Talk.
All right, if you like this video and want to support the channel, the number of ways to do so, you can follow me on Twitter at Core Productions. You can join the Core Productions Facebook page. You can buy something from the Core Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy. You can join the Core Productions membership starting at 99 cents a month. This is actually kind of new. We have some new levels there. So if you are interested and want to support the channel, you can get a higher membership and get some stuff early.
You can even be a producer on
Right,
the show
exactly.
and get some IMDb credits if
Yeah,
you want.
yeah.
So check that out.
Absolutely. If you do end up taking that route, be sure to reach out to us and let us know how you want it to be credited. And, of course, you can also like, share, and comment on this video as well as subscribe to the channel. This is Dave and Stacie from Corn Productions, signing off.